What is good, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody had a happy Valentine's Day. I'm sorry I missed you guys yesterday. I was at the aquarium with my lovely Q, celebrating Valentine's Day. She loves the water, so I thought the aquarium would be a nice little Valentine's Day treat. And we went to this place called Dick's Last Resort. It's right on the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. And it was a really cool restaurant. Some of the best nachos I ever had. So if you're in Baltimore, you may already know about it. But if you ever visit Baltimore and you love nachos, Dick's Last Resort, tremendous. And they have like the servers in there are like sarcastic and having fun. So it's very, very cool. And yeah, just a very nice day for Valentine's. So in lieu of Valentine's, I know it was yesterday, but to keep the review series up, I'm going to be reviewing The Loving Story today. It's a documentary. It came out in 2011. It came out on HBO. Single Cindy requested the Loving movie. It's just called Loving, so if you want to watch that as well. I apologize, Cindy, I'm not doing the actual movie, so I hope this does suffice. I wanted to do the documentary instead, mainly because I think that it's more true. I don't have to worry about any fabrication. And also, too, is it's available on YouTube. I'm going to link it down below. I actually ended up watching it on YouTube. It was the second time I watched it. Really good documentary. But let's get into wings and we'll talk about that and just have fun. All right. So we got, oh yeah, my bad. I didn't even introduce what we got here. I got Buffalo Wild Wings for the mukbang today. We got honey barbecue wings and jammin' jalapeno. Now I haven't bit into them yet, but I requested extra crispy. It is an issue I've had with Buffalo Wild Wings, and Q enlightened me to it that they never fry the wings hard enough. So I did tell them to do that. We'll see. I also got cheese curds here with caramel. So anybody new to the channel, if you have a Buffalo Wild Wings nearby you and you like salt and sweet, a good combo, we got caramel right here with the cheese curds. I know you're saying to yourself, oh my gosh, Scott, that sounds awful. Why would I ever want caramel with cheese and fried cheese? You'll see once you have it, just trust me, and you'll see how much I enjoy it. And I'm fairly picky eater. All right, so let's start off with honey barbecue and we'll talk about the documentary. And have water to drink. I do hope everybody had a nice Valentine's Day. I'm not really a big Valentine's Day guy. However, I do realize it's a big day for if you're in a relationship with a girl. You know, it's nice to be it's a day just for love. So I do recognize it, although principally I'm not really for it. I think it's kind of a marketing scheme, but I'm not going to get on my soapbox and be a wet blanket here. And we'll stay with the honey barbecue, then we go with jam and jalapeno. Please leave down below if you are a drum person, if you're a flat person. I'm just curious, or if you're somebody like me where you just like wings, you don't really care. Because I didn't realize that was a thing until I got with Q, because she loved flat. Anytime she gets wings, it's flats only. I didn't even know that was a thing. My only issue with flats is like they're hard to eat for me for some reason. Like that meat in the middle, and she has a way of doing it. She taught me. I still don't get it, but whatever. This is jam and jalapeno, which I had once before. Let me just stick with its own sauce so I don't really interfere there. Mm. Mm. For the wintertime, for February, mid-February, it's been very warm out. So when we went to Baltimore yesterday, I just had a button down on and a leather jacket, you know, nothing. I figured I'd be enough. Then I remembered, oh yeah, I'm gonna be right on the water. So it was pretty cold, but it wasn't. Normally in February 14, when I'm right in the water, I shouldn't even be able to leave. I normally would be frozen before I left, but. And I like the vibe in Baltimore. It's a very, very cool city. It has its own energy. Drove around a little bit. But yeah, she likes water, fish, stuff like that. So we went there. Let me have a cheese curd here. Mm. That salt and that sweet, perfect. These are like if you have a moderate spice tolerance, I'd recommend the jam and jalapeno. They're not super spicy, but they do have a kick. It's not like, oh, my mouth is on fire, but it does have a little bit of a punch that stays with you. So today I'm reviewing The Loving Story. The Loving Story is a couple, Richard and Mildred Loving. They were an interracial couple who lived in Virginia. They're from Caroline County, Virginia. Richard was a white man, and Mildred Loving was half black, half Native American, so they were an interracial couple. Now, at the time when they got married in June of 1958, that was illegal. It's miscongestion. I don't know the law. Something like that. It's basically anti-interracial marriage law to cut it short. And they got married. They went to Washington to get married, and then came back to Virginia. So like I said, they got married in June of 1958. July of 1958, so a month later, the sheriff came knocking out the door and took him off to jail. Now they had hurt no one, they've stole from no one, they've committed no actual crime, if you know what I mean. So the sheriff took him off to jail. They were told what they were arrested for, and they were then exiled from Virginia. They couldn't be together in the state of Virginia. So Mildred went off to live in Washington, D.C. Richard lived in Virginia, and they would secretly try to meet up with each other. Now, they were truly in love. These were just two people who were just in love. It's as simple as I can put it. Because, like, Richard being a white guy, and if you watch the documentary, when you see him, if you look at when you see him, you're going to be like, that guy, and not to be stereotypical, he looks like somebody that could be racist. But he loved his woman. They just, like, way he explained it in the documentary, it was just from, like, old interviews, because both of them had passed away, rest in peace, when the documentary was made. But he had said, you know, black and white people, or white people, non-white people, we just hung out together. Like, it just is what it was, you know, helped each other out. It's like a very country community. It wasn't like in the city. It's like a farming community, then like a small town. And everybody just kind of helped each other out. Now, he could have easily just said, all right, I'm gonna get divorced. I don't want to deal with this. But he loved her. He loved her, and I'm gonna tell you, like, my favorite part of the documentary really points that out. I gotta say, they did fry them pretty well today, so thank you, Buffalo Wild Wings. In my opinion, they're fried well enough. They're definitely not their normal. So if they didn't get it up to, like, Wings to Go does it like perfectly, but this is definitely a step up for Buffalo Wild Wings. So they were secretly meeting, going back and forth, you know, hiding out in trunks and this and that, because they just wanted to be together. They had children together. They just wanted to spend time together as a family. And this is, Richard especially, is just a simple guy. All he really wanted was to spend time with his wife and his family, work on his car, and, like, take care of his lawn. That's it. This is a simple dude. And Mildred went off to live in Washington, D.C. because it was, you know, it was okay for her to go there. It's a city, but she grew up in the country. She didn't like the city life. It's too congested. There's nowhere for the kids to play. Now, some people that grow up in the city, that's cool, but, like, she didn't grow up in that. She's not from that. So for her, it was not good. So they had to be together. They were separated. Their kids weren't living in the best life they wanted their children to live. So they just said, what do we have to do? So they reached out to Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's brother, who was the Attorney General at the time, and said, can you help us in any way? She wrote a very poignant letter, and he responded back and said, I can't really do anything, but you want to reach out to the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union. All right, let's get back into these. Jammin' jalapeno or jalapeno. So they reached out to the ACLU, and I don't remember their last names, but the lawyers' name were Bernie and Phil, and we'll call them that. Now, these guys were interviewed during the documentary. And during the documentary, you just get, it's a lot of footage. The camera's in their house, it's watching them. It's kind of, and just seeing their family life. And you could just see they're just a nice, simple couple that just likes hanging out. So this documentary should have been boring. It should have been just, okay, this is just another love story. Two people fell in love who, you know, they just clicked and they fell in love. And the thing with them is, they weren't trying to make a big splash as far as the civil rights movement, which was going on at the time. And when they got married, they say they didn't even know this was illegal, and I believe them. I believe they lived a very simple life, and they don't know all the laws. They figured we're just in love. Like, could they really say that we can't be together? And in fact, yes, they can, apparently. But we're going to dive further into that. But so the cameras in there, and you could tell, like, this is like, why are they here? And they're in the news, the whole thing. So the ACLU, Bernie and Phil are the lawyers, and they're interviewed during the documentary. It was really cool seeing them, footage from them in the 60s, because this case went 9 years before it got to the Supreme Court. So for 9 years, they're living under this guise of, you know, the sheriff can come knocking at our door and take us off to prison for being married at any point. Which the lawyers bring up when they go to Supreme Court is this old slavery laws. It's archaic nonsense. And the judge who ruled against them in Virginia kind of helped their case, because he was like, yeah, God, you know, put these races and these races on different continents for a reason and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, okay. The lawyer's like, actually, that kind of helps our case, because that's totally archaic thinking. So, and it was really cool seeing a lot of stuff from the 60s, and this, like, you got to see like the kind of area that they lived in. And if you ever drove through the country or just through that part of the, like, the South, I guess, it gives you a good perspective about where they lived. And, you know, to interview people and how other people thought. And most people were against them being married based on where they lived. And it was just very disheartening to see. And they would drive to they would go to Washington, this and that. So after much ado about nothing, I was saying about the lawyers. Yeah, it was cool seeing them because they were old, because they were in their 20s when they tried the case. I think they had to be in their mid-20s. And then now they're old. So it was cool to see how, like, you could see their younger face in them. Like, I always like looking at that pictures of my grandparents or my mom, and even myself to a degree, even though I'm not that old yet, God willing. It's cool seeing like they still look the same, but they're just old, and you can still hear the same voice, and they think the same, and they understood the importance of this case. This case is of similar importance as Brown versus the Board of Education, where if this got turned over in the Supreme Court, then the laws, which still in 16 other states in the mid-60s, it was still illegal for interracial marriages, which to me that's like the mid-60s. Like, are you kidding me? And then what I found out at the end, I'll just touch on this briefly. It took till the year 2000 for the state of Alabama to have that off the books. Like, are you kidding me? Like, 2000? So you couldn't get married to a black person, couldn't get married to a white person, or just any interracial couple couldn't happen. Whether it be Hispanic, white, black, Asian, whatever. Like, you couldn't be together in 1999 in Alabama. That's insane. All right, let me get a couple of these cheese curds in here. Guys, this is one of my favorite snacks. And this is probably my favorite thing at Buffalo Wild Wings. I know you're like, Scott, you love onion rings. Buffalo Wild Wings has onion rings. I don't like their onion rings. They don't have that crunch. They don't have the crunch that I need. And like, I like their sauce that they have, and I've said it to them. I was like, can you make these? And they just can't. It's just not. It's not anybody that works there's fault. It's just that they don't make crispy onion rings. But so they went to the Supreme Court, and so they had to go through all this nonsense. There was a much ado about nothing before the Supreme Court actually heard it. And then you look at the Supreme Court, and it's like 8 or 9 like older white guys, and you're like, oh boy, don't tell me this is going to end badly. Because obviously we know now in the 2000s that, you know, you can marry whoever you want. You know, it doesn't matter their race or their religion. It doesn't matter. So you're like, oh boy. But so before they went to the Supreme Court, the lawyers told my favorite part of the movie. The Lovings did not end up going, even though they were invited to go by the lawyers. I might get emotional when I say this, so I apologize. But Mildred was like, I'll go if Richard goes with me, and Richard was like, I don't want to go. So they asked him, they said, is there anything you want us to tell the courts? He said, just tell them I love my wife. I was like, jeez. It's that simple. It's that simple. And I get him. He just wants to be with his woman, man. Like, what is the deal? So normally it would take months for the Supreme Court to rule on this. It didn't take long. I think it took less than a month, they said. And they ruled in their favor. And then that abolished all those non-interracial marriage laws throughout the United States. And like what I love about it is, like I said, they weren't trying to make some big splash. They weren't, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I never got the impression from listening to the interviews with them, and because in the documentary you're seeing the actual people, you're seeing these people, and I never got the impression like we're trying to change the world, or we want all couples like us to. They just wanted themselves, and that's so simple. It's so practical, and it is what it is. And I don't think they knew the impact they were going to have, because I thank them, because I've been in interracial relationships my whole life since I was 16. My first girlfriend was Puerto Rican. I've been with, obviously with a beautiful black woman now. I've been with white girls. I've been with other Hispanic girls. So it's just like, I wouldn't, anytime I've been with somebody, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm with Puerto Rican girl, I'm with a black girl. It's not like that for me. Like it's just who I'm attracted to and who I connect with at that time in my life. Thankfully, God has led me to where I am now, and to the beautiful woman that I'm with and I connect with now, that I'm gonna be with for the rest of my life. But I wouldn't have been able to find her had I not had other experiences. I wouldn't even be able to be with her if it wasn't for this couple going through this. Now, naturally, just like when we talked about with Jackie Robinson, this is something that would have happened eventually anyway. It's inevitable. They were just old, archaic laws. And I'm going to talk one thing before I kind of talk about how this can relate to you guys today. One little thing I liked, and this is just a little note, things I noticed. But it was at the 60s at the time. It took 9 years, so it was like 1967, I think, when it got ruled on. They had the old rotary phones where you had to, like, just the old, that phone that was shaped like a little box, and it was going to court, obviously. And so he had a little thing that attached to the phone that like and then it rested on his shoulder so he could have his hands free. I thought that was pretty cool technology. I don't know. It's weird that I noticed that, because like it has nothing to do with that, obviously. But it was cool kind of seeing that in the 60s. All right, let me get back to these wings, and we're going to kind of talk about. Actually, let me have a couple carrots here before we have another wing. So, and what's up, Doc? Every time I eat a carrot, I think about Bugs Bunny. A little water, and then we're gonna have another wing here. Another honey BBQ. So yeah, guys, time to talk about it in today's sense. Now, I know most people, they can be with who they want to be with, and this doesn't really apply to you, what I'm about to say. But I know there are probably, and I don't know this, actually, I don't know why I'm saying I know this, but I have a feeling there are certain cases out there, not cases, but people who due to family judgment, or just like family or friends being ostracized from a group or whatever, can't be with the person they might want to be with, or just try to be in a relationship with, because they're of a different religion or they're of a different race or whatever. Now, I don't want to tell anybody how to live their life. That's not what I'm about. You know, I'm about happiness and peace, you know. And I think we all should just get along. However, there might be people out there who want to be with somebody of, like I said, different race, different religion, different group, whatever. But for whatever reason, they say, you know, we're gonna not like you, or they feel like they're gonna be judged by their parents, their friends, the organization they're part of, whatever. I would say you need to examine your relationship with whoever that is, because like obviously not all relationships end up working out, but any relationship deserves at least an attempt to be tried. You should at least have the opportunity to try to be with anybody you want to be with if you have a connection with them. And it hurts me when I know that, and I've actually heard of people like based off of somebody's a different religion, and I went to schools with people, they like, I can't be with that person. I'll go there. And I'm just like, what? Like, what type of religion, and religion is usually based in God, would say you can't love somebody else that doesn't believe exactly what you believe? And it's not even like they don't, it's not even that they don't believe it. It's just like, how do you know that they're just like, okay, they accept that we're different in that way? Like, things can work out. You should have the opportunity to be with that person. You should have the opportunity to, you know, pursue a relationship. Would it work out? Maybe. You don't know. And love is something everybody should be able to experience. And to be restricted from who you love is absolutely ridiculous to me. Like I said, I've been in interracial relationships since I was a teenager. It's happened here and there. It's not like what I look for. It just wouldn't have happening. And when they met my mom or my friends, that was never like an issue. It was never like, oh, I don't like this person for that. Now, if someone doesn't want, like your father or parents don't want you to be with somebody, maybe because they don't have a job, or they don't have their S in a pile. You know what I mean? They don't got their life together. That's what I'm saying. I try not to curse. But if it like that's valid. Like, if someone is like in their mid-20s, they don't got a job, they don't got a car, they don't got a lot going on for them, a lot of prospects, then yeah, if I was a father, I wouldn't want my kid to be with someone that don't got a job or don't got things going on, or if they got they already have kids. There's things to consider. And as a parent, you're just looking out for your kid. But if it's as simple as race or whatever, like, that's just silly. And like I said, I would never tell anybody to cut anybody out of their life, but it's just, you know, just things to consider for yourself. You know, everybody should feel love, man. It's, you know, love knows no bounds, man. If you got a connection with somebody, you get along with somebody, you should be able to pursue the relationship with them. And I do think it's sad that there's some people out there that don't get the opportunity to love who they want to love. And like I said, who knows if it's going to work out or not? That's none of the other people's business. If it don't work out, it doesn't work out. Who cares? Like, you still deserve the chance to be in a relationship with somebody. So yeah, I mean, now me personally, anybody who's telling me how to think, I'm in my early 30s, anybody who's telling me what to think or what to do with my life, as far as like love goes, I gotta examine my relationship with that person. And thankfully, you know, my dad, you know, he wasn't around for any of my relationships, so I didn't even get his opinion. And when he found out about it, he didn't really care either way. You know, what's he gonna say? My mom, no. Now my grandparents, yeah, they said something, but like, it wasn't that big a deal. That's just my them, and they were cool. They were old fashioned. They're from that old line of thinking. But my mom had been with guys that weren't white. My aunts had, so it wasn't like their first rodeo with somebody in the family dating outside of white people. Like, it's just who you run into, you know? It's life. What am I gonna do? Cut everybody off that You know, that's not any way to live. And this is like this watching that documentary in general, just the idea of just like this segregated life, and like they have their life, we have, like, that's ridiculous. This is so sad. It's so sad that happened, and it wasn't even that long ago. Like the 60s wasn't that long ago. Like that was what, less than 60 years ago. It was like 50 some years ago. Like that's not that long ago when you think about it. And a lot of that stuff still permeates through our society today, unfortunately. It's very sad because there's a lot of the remnants that are still there from that mentality. You know, but I'm not here to like tell anybody, you know, how to live their life, but I think everybody should feel love. And if you feel like you got a connection with somebody, you get along on any level, you should be able to be with them and experience a relationship with them. I believe everybody should have that opportunity. But guys, I greatly appreciate you joining me today. I know it was a long video, but I thank anybody who's still here hanging with me. I will be back tomorrow with another video. I greatly appreciate your time. And guys, cheese curds and caramel, have them. I'm gonna have these later after I get done editing and taking a little nap, catching some Z's. But I hope y'all have a great weekend, whatever you are doing. Please guys, take care and be well.